Something strange happens to a lot of men after 40. Not all at once, not obviously. They don't fall apart. They don't make reckless decisions. They just start to feel a little lost. And the strange thing is, their life looks completely fine from the outside. I've been sitting with that word lately. Lost. Because it's not quite the right word, is it? Lost implies you don't know where you are. But most men after 40 know exactly where they are. They know their address, their job title, their role. What they lost isn't a location. It's more like a sense of direction, that feeling that you're moving towards something that actually matters to you. And when that goes quiet, when you stop feeling that forward pull, it creates this strange internal stillness. Not peaceful stillness, the other kind. The kind where you're doing everything right and feeling almost nothing about it. I think most men experience this and assume something is wrong with them, like they're broken somehow, like other men have it figured out, and they missed the memo, so they don't say anything. They keep going, keep performing. They go to work, come home, handle the weekend, and they get very good at looking fine. But underneath that, if you ask them quietly, honestly, there is this background feeling they can't quite shake. Like they're living slightly beside their own life, watching it happen rather than actually inhabiting it. And they can't explain it, which makes it worse. Because men are problem solvers. And this doesn't feel like a problem they can solve. It just sits there. But here is the strange part. Most men assume this feeling means something has gone wrong, that they chose the wrong career or the wrong life, or that they've somehow failed at being content. But that's not what's happening, not even close. What's basically happening is something that psychology has understood for decades, but that almost nobody tells men about before it hits them. The feeling of being lost after 40 isn't a sign that your life went wrong. It's a sign that your psyche is trying to grow in a direction your life hasn't made room for yet. And this is where things become interesting. Because that reframe, that single shift in how you understand the feeling, changes everything about what you do next. Think about the first half of a man's life is largely spent adapting to expectations, to institutions, to requirements, the requirements of building a life. You learn what's rewarded. You orient towards that. You build a self that can navigate the world effectively. And that self is real, it's not fake, but it's also partial. It's the version of you that learned to function, not necessarily the version that knows how to live. And somewhere around 40, that internal pressure shifts. The part of you that adapted starts to tire, and a different part, quieter, older, more essential, starts to push forward. And it doesn't speak in words. It speaks in that low restlessness, that numbness, that vague dissatisfaction. Most men never notice this for what it is. They hear the signal, but misread the message. They think something needs to be fixed, when actually something needs to be heard. And something changes after 40 that I find genuinely fascinating. The things that used to give you a sense of self stop working as reliably. The job title, the social status, the visible markers of success. When you were younger, those things felt like identity. They told you and everyone else who you were. But after 40, there's often this quiet erosion. Those external things start to feel like a description of your life, not the meaning of it. And the question that starts to surface slowly, persistently, is one most men have never been thought to ask themselves. Who am I when I'm not performing any of my roles? Not the father, not the provider, not the professional. Just you. That question sounds simple, but a lot of men feel that that question opens into something enormous because they don't have a clear answer. And that absence, that not knowing, is what the feeling of being lost is actually made of. Men are not thought to have a relationship with themselves. I don't mean that in a self-help way. I mean it literally. From the time you were young, you were oriented outward, toward achievement, toward responsibility, toward being useful. And that orientation serves you until it doesn't. Because at some point, usually in the second half of life, the outward orientation starts to feel like it's missing something. And what is missing is depth, not accomplishment, not more to do. Depth, the sense that you actually know yourself, that your days have some connection to something genuine inside you, that you're not just executing a role, but actually living as a person. And most men arrive at 40, 45, 50, having never really developed that. Not because they are incapable, but because nobody modeled it. Nobody told them it was necessary. And so the lost feeling, that quiet persistence, sense of drift, is really the beginning of the question the psyche has been holding for a very long time. Is there more to me than what I have shown the world? And the honest answer for most men is yes, there is more. There has always been more. It just never had permission to exist. I want to ask you something. Not the kind of question that has an easy answer. Think about the last time you felt genuinely like yourself. Not performing, not managing, not in a role, just present, unguarded, real. When was that? For some men, it's recent. For others, it's been years. For a few, they struggle to find the memory at all. And I'm not saying that to make you feel bad about it. I'm saying it because that gap between the man you perform and the man you actually are, that gap is where the lost feeling lives. And you can close it, not by blowing up your life, not by some dramatic reinvention, but by starting to pay attention to what's true for you and what actually moves you, what genuinely matters, what you've been quietly carrying around that you've never given yourself permission to look at directly. That's not weakness. That's the most important work a man can do. The reason men start feeling lost after 40 isn't because something has gone wrong. It's because something is trying to go right. The psyche, your actual interior self, is asking for more space, more honesty, more alignment. And the lost feeling is its way of getting your attention. Because you stopped listening to it somewhere in your 30s. You stopped listening to it. When life got loud, when responsibilities stacked up, when there was always something more pressing, And it waited, patient, persistent, until you were old enough and still enough to finally hear it. That's what 40 does. It doesn't break you. It just makes you quiet enough to start listening again. And what you hear when you do, that's not the sound of something ending. It's the sound of something real that's been there the whole time, finally getting a word in. I don't think the lost feeling is something to fix. I think it's something to follow. Not recklessly, not with panic, but with the same patience and honesty you'd give to anything in your life that actually mattered. Because most men who feel this aren't actually lost. They just haven't found the way back to themselves yet. And that journey, that quiet turning inward, might be the most important thing a man does in the second half of his life.